Her hair was wet when she came home. It wasn't raining. She walked into the kitchen like nothing happened, tossed her purse onto the counter, and asked me if I wanted Thai or sushi. No explanation, no apology, just wet hair. At 10:46 p.m. on a Wednesday, I didn't say anything. I stared at her. I think she knew I was staring because she reached up, touched a damp strand, and said, "Shampoo exploded in my gym bag." That might have made sense if she hadn't stopped going to the gym 3 months ago. I know that because I was the one who froze her account when we needed to tighten the budget. That was my job now. Money, groceries, laundry, picking up her prescription she never takes. But I said nothing. I just nodded like an idiot and picked at a dried spot on the table like it held the answers. That's how it starts. Not with lipstick, not with lies, with hair that shouldn't be wet. The mind plays tricks after that. You start noticing things. Like how her phone never leaves the bathroom anymore, how her laptop password changed, how her laughter sounds different when she's texting, sharper, like it's coming from somewhere outside her body. I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always a man who checks timestamps and deletes his own texts out of shame. I used to be lighter, not happy exactly, but not like this. I used to sleep. Now I just lay there, counting the seconds between when she unlocks her phone and when the screen fades to black. She thinks I don't notice, but I notice everything. I noticed when she wore makeup on a Sunday for grocery shopping. I noticed when she started using phrases like, "he just gets it," and "he wasn't me." I even noticed the way her body flinched when I touched her back, like she forgot for a moment that I was still here, still trying, still hoping. And here's the worst part. I didn't confront her. Not then. Not when it would have made sense. Not when I still had some dignity. I let it grow inside me like rot. I made excuses for her that she didn't even ask for. I became the lawyer for my own execution, until the day I asked a very simple question. "Did you talk to Julian today?" And she said, "Are we really doing this again?" No answer, no denial, just exhaustion. From me, from this, from pretending. That was the moment, the click, the clean slice in the timeline. That's when the words came out, the ones I didn't plan, didn't rehearse, didn't mean to say, "You defended him more in 2 sentences than you've defended me in 2 years. She blinked, looked down at the floor, then said something that, if I'm being honest, destroyed me more than any affair ever could. That's because he didn't make me feel like I was slowly disappearing. So yeah, that was it. The end before the end. But don't go thinking this is some neat little breakup story. You don't know half of it yet. You don't know what I found in the guest room drawer. You don't know about the audio file. You don't know about the call. But you will. Part 2 is when I start losing everything. And she doesn't even flinch. I don't know what made me open the drawer. Maybe it was the silence. The kind of silence that doesn't just sit in the room, but presses down on you like a blanket soaked in guilt. Eliza was out, said she had to run something over to Jules. She didn't even pretend anymore. She just called him that, like we were all friends now. Like I'd be okay with my wife delivering something to a man she once claimed barely spoke outside of meetings. She didn't notice that I didn't say anything when she left. Or maybe she did, and just didn't care. Anyway, the drawer. It was one of those cheap wooden ones from IKEA, bottom left of the guest room dresser. We used to call it the whatever drawer. Old batteries, expired coupons. A birthday card from her aunt I never met. Junk. At least, that's what I thought was in there. But when I opened it that night, there was only one thing inside. A plain, unlabeled USB stick. It wasn't hidden, wasn't even pushed to the back. It was just there, sitting perfectly centered like someone placed it carefully, like someone wanted it to be found. My brain immediately did that thing it always does, cycling through the worst-case scenarios like a wheel of doom. Photos, videos, texts, or something worse. Like a breakup letter she hadn't worked up the nerve to give me yet. I should have waited. I should have asked her, but I didn't. I plugged it into my laptop like a man reaching for the knife already in his chest. There was only one file, a .wav, no title, no metadata, just a timestamp. 2:08 a.m. from 2 weeks ago. I hesitated, took a deep breath, hit play, and then I heard it. Breathing. Not heavy, not panicked, just slow, rhythmic breathing. A woman's voice, low and distant, whispering something I couldn't quite make out. Then the sound of footsteps, a door clicking shut, the rustle of fabric, a man's voice, laughing, whispering something back. I turned the volume up, replayed the moment again and again, trying to decipher the words, until finally I caught it. Right before the whisper fades, the woman says, "He thinks I'm asleep next to him right now." I paused the audio. My hand was shaking. I don't know what's worse, that it was her voice, or that it wasn't, because I can't tell. It sounds like her. The cadence, the softness, the way her consonants clip at the end. But it's just off enough that I can't be sure. And that's what drove me crazy. I played it 57 times. I counted. I compared it to voicemails she left me years ago. I even recorded my own voice on the same mic to test how warped it might get. But nothing lined up perfectly. So I asked her. Not directly, of course. That would require courage. I just said casually, "Hey, do you still have that old USB from your work project? I think I saw it in the drawer." She didn't even blink. What drawer? Not denial. Not deflection. Just confusion. Pure and blank. That was 2 days ago. She's sleeping in the bedroom now. I'm back on the guest room mattress, staring at the ceiling every night, with that voice on repeat in my head, that laugh, that whisper. I haven't touched the USB since. I put it back in the drawer exactly as I found it. Maybe I'm hoping it disappears. Maybe I'm hoping she'll notice it's been moved and finally say something. But she hasn't. Instead, she brought me coffee this morning, said, "You look tired." Tired? I'm unraveling, Eliza. And if this keeps going, if the next thing I find is worse, I don't know what I'll do. But I can feel it. Something's coming. I told myself I wouldn't open her laptop. I made that promise years ago, back when we still talked about boundaries. And trust was something we didn't even have to name because it was just there. But that was before the USB, before the whisper. Before my nights became nothing but blinking lights, unfinished thoughts, and the sound of my own breath catching in my throat. So yeah, I opened it. I waited until she fell asleep, watching that documentary she claimed to love, but always dozed off to, after 10 minutes. I slipped out of the guest room, padded silently across the floor, and picked up her MacBook from the coffee table. It wasn't password protected, not anymore. That somehow made it worse, like she wasn't even trying to hide. Or maybe she wanted me to look. The screen lit up to her email, nothing suspicious. Newsletters, order confirmations, boring agency threads. But then I noticed something in the corner, Google Chat. She never used it with me. We'd always just texted or talked face to face. But there it was, a thread. Dozens of unread messages, all with the same sender icon. A green dot, no name, just a single letter, R. I clicked it. At first it looked mundane. Work stuff, campaign links, brief comments about clients. But then I scrolled up, and up, and up, and the tone shifted. Still think about that thing you said in the elevator. I'm wearing the blue shirt today, the one you made fun of. Do you think he knows? My chest tightened, my eyes burned, but I kept reading, obsessively, like punishment. Some part of me wanted to feel the blade go in, wanted to know just how deep she'd let someone else crawl under her skin. Then I got to a message from her, dated the night I found the USB. I hate how careful we have to be. He's not dumb. He just doesn't want to see it. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat there in the glow of her screen, still and cold, like the air around me had changed. My heart didn't race. It slowed. I read that line over and over until the green dot blinked. A new message appeared, from R. "You're not online. Is he next to you again?" I slammed the laptop shut so hard it echoed down the hallway. I thought I'd feel something, rage, despair, even relief. But all I felt was disconnected, like my body had decided to float 3 inches to the left of my life. I don't know who R is. It's not Jules. It's not anyone I recognize. I checked her contacts, her Slack, even her Instagram messages. Nothing. Just R. Hidden. Intimate. Real. She doesn't know I saw it. Not yet. I've spent the last 2 days pretending, smiling when she walks in, asking her if she wants coffee, laughing at her fake complaints about her boss. I've become a ghost. His ghost. The man she talks about in secret. The man who isn't dumb, but doesn't want to see. But I see it now. All of it. And here's the thing. I don't think this is about cheating anymore. Not really. Something's wrong. There's a pattern. A rhythm to the deception that feels deliberate. Like she's not just hiding something. She's testing how much I'll ignore before I finally break. And if she is testing me, she's about to find out I'm a much better observer than she thinks. Because part 4, that's when I start watching her. And what I find next? It's not what you think. It's worse. It was a cheap baby monitor. One of those off-brand ones with an app that barely works in video quality, like it's being shot through a milk carton. I bought it 4 years ago, when my sister had twins and forgot it in our closet after staying the weekend. I don't know why I kept it. I guess I just never throw anything away, including trust apparently. Setting it up was easy. Hiding it was easier. I mounted it behind a stack of design books on the guest room shelf, the ones she always said she'd read but never touched. The camera was angled through a narrow gap, perfectly aligned with the hallway. It didn't look like much, just grainy black and white footage, timestamp in the corner, ambient hum like a distant fan. But it was enough. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong, that I wasn't spying on her, just observing patterns. That if everything was innocent, the camera would prove it. That if I was the paranoid one, I'd eat the crow and delete the app. But then Tuesday night happened. I had already gone to bed early, or pretended to. Lights off, phone face down, one arm thrown dramatically across my forehead like I was in some off-Broadway tragedy. I heard her walking around, not loud, just enough that I could tell she wasn't settling. I stayed still, listened, then I felt it. That hum, that stupid background buzz from the baby monitor app I left running under my pillow. I rolled onto my side, barely breathing, and glanced at the feed. She was on the phone, standing in the hallway barefoot, pacing in and out of the frame. Her voice was hushed, but not so much that I couldn't catch a few phrases. Number. He's not asleep yet. I don't know. It's like he's looking at me differently now. If he finds out, we lose all of it. I sat up so fast the phone slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a thud. It wasn't loud, but it felt like a gunshot. I scrambled to mute the feed, barely keeping the video running. She froze in the hallway. I watched her head tilt, listening. My heart beat so hard I swore she could hear it from the other room. Then she walked out of frame. I didn't sleep. I didn't even blink for a full hour, just stared at the ceiling and tried to imagine what all of it could mean. Lose what? A job, money, a relationship, or something else entirely. The next day I left work early and drove to her office. I parked 2 blocks away, sat in the car like a coward. I just wanted to see. Just wanted visual confirmation that I wasn't making it all up, that there was someone, something. She came out at 5:38 p.m., alone. She wasn't smiling, didn't look rushed, just walked with that same effortless calm that always made me feel small next to her. She stopped to tie her shoe, then kept walking. I followed her. Not closely, just enough to know she wasn't going home. She walked 2 blocks east, turned into a coffee shop I didn't recognize. I waited. 20 minutes passed, 30. Then he came out. Not Jules. Not anyone I recognized from her social media or office pages. This guy was older, maybe late 40s, early 50s. Sharp coat, carrying a black portfolio under his arm. He left alone. No hug, no kiss, just walked away like nothing happened. 10 minutes later, she exited, wiped under her eyes, got in her car, and drove off. She never mentioned the meeting, never brought up the coffee shop. That night, we watched a movie together, and she laid her head on my shoulder like we were still us. And I let her. But I checked the hallway feed again before bed, just in case. The last recorded clip, she was staring directly at the camera, not shocked, not surprised, just standing there, hands at her sides, expressionless, looking straight into the lens. And then she reached forward, slowly, and covered it with her hand. The feed cut to black. I deleted the app the next morning. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what she's hiding, or who the man was, or why she let me find that USB if she knew I'd see it. But I know this. She's playing a game I don't understand. And the terrifying part, I think I'm losing. Part 5 is when the game stops being subtle. That's when she tells me something. Something I wish I could unhear. And that is when everything changes. There's a specific kind of panic that doesn't come with racing heartbeats or cold sweat. It's the kind that creeps in quietly, like fog through a cracked window. It doesn't scream. It just settles, curling into your muscles, dulling your instincts, making you question whether you've been the villain in your own story all along. That's what I felt when Eliza sat across from me and said, very calmly, "We need to talk about the hallway." I hadn't brought it up. Not the camera, not the footage, nothing. I deleted the app, erased the baby monitor's pairing, and buried the device under a pile of tax papers in the garage. I convinced myself she didn't see it, that maybe she was staring into nothing, that maybe I imagined the whole thing. But she knew. She didn't yell, didn't accuse. She just placed her coffee on the table like we were about to discuss which color to paint the kitchen. "I saw the little green light," she said. It reflected in the glass frame behind me. "Clever, but not clever enough." I didn't answer. I think I forgot how to speak. My mouth was open but nothing came out, just the static of shame. And then she did something I didn't expect. She smiled, not cruelly, not sweetly, just knowingly. Like she was ahead of me, 3 moves deep into a game I didn't know we were playing. "You're going to ask me why I didn't say anything earlier," she said. "The answer is simple. I wanted to see how far you'd go." And you did not disappoint. I could barely breathe. "Eliza," I finally croaked, "who is R?" Her expression didn't change. "There is no R." I blinked. "I saw the messages, the green dot, the chat." She shook her head slowly. "No, Simon, you saw what you needed to see." "What the hell does that mean?" She leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're a smart man, but you forget that perception isn't truth. You've been so obsessed with catching me in a lie that you didn't consider the possibility that the truth might look exactly like what you expect it to, but still be a fiction." She stood up and walked to her bag, pulled out her laptop, the same one I had gone through days earlier, and opened it right in front of me. She went straight to her Google chat. No green dot, no contact named R. Nothing in her recent messages but boring workplace small talk and calendar reminders. "Did you delete it?" I asked, but my voice was shaking. "No," she said softly. "There was never anything there." I started to argue, but then she pulled up her browsing history, clean, no logins to anonymous accounts, no second email addresses, just food blogs, a Spotify playlist called Quiet Mornings, and a tab for shoe inserts she'd bookmarked weeks ago. And suddenly, the floor fell out from under me, because it didn't feel like she was hiding anything anymore. It felt like I was the only one who saw it, the USB, the voice recording, the messages, the hallway call, and the man at the coffee shop. "Eliza, are you messing with me?" I asked, my voice so faint it barely left my throat. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said something that chilled me far more than any confession of cheating ever could. "No, Simon, I think you're messing with yourself. And if you're not careful, you're going to ruin everything. Not because I betrayed you, but because you couldn't accept that sometimes your brain lies to protect you from what you already know." That was it. She walked out of the room and left me there, knees weak, fingers shaking. And I realized I didn't know what was real anymore. Because later that night, when I went back to the guest room and pulled the USB from the drawer to replay the audio clip, just to prove I wasn't losing it, the file was gone. Not erased, never there. The drive was completely empty. And now I'm sitting here, wondering if maybe I've been the unreliable narrator of my own life all along. Maybe she didn't lie. Maybe I wanted her to. But if that's true, then who sent me the package this morning? Because I haven't told you about that yet. And part 6 is when the mystery stops being about what she did and becomes about who else is involved. Because someone else knows, someone who should not. I didn't check the mailbox right away. That's not usually my job. It's Eliza's little ritual, a reason to walk to the curb, wave at neighbors she pretends to like, stretch her legs after hours of sitting at a desk. But that morning, I felt off. The kind of off where you spill your coffee before you sip it, where every sound feels slightly out of place, where your skin doesn't quite fit right. So I went to the mailbox. There were the usual suspects: junk coupons, an envelope from our internet provider, a suspiciously late wedding invitation. But tucked between the weekly ad and a Bed Bath & Beyond catalog was a plain white envelope. No logo, no return address, no postage. Hand-delivered. And on the front, typed in neat laser-printed letters, Simon Norrell, not Mr. and Mrs. Not Simon and Eliza, just me. My hands started sweating instantly. I looked around, no one on the street. I stood there for at least a full minute, trying to decide whether to open it outside or inside. I went with inside, safer. Dumber, maybe, but safer. I sat at the kitchen table and slid a butter knife under the flap. Inside, one single sheet of paper. Black text, no header, no signature. One sentence. You need to ask her about New York. That's it. Not I know what she did, not I'm watching, not here's proof. Just a clean sentence. No emotion, no explanation, nothing. Eliza has never mentioned New York to me. Not once, not in passing, not in stories, not as a layover. It's not one of her cities, and she's not the kind of person who forgets a city. She romanticizes places. She still talks about a 4-hour layover in Denver like it was a spiritual awakening. I reread the note 5 times. Tried to trace the font like that would help. It was Helvetica, boring, anonymous. I flipped the paper over, blank. I even smelled it, which made me hate myself more than anything that had happened up to that point. I didn't ask her immediately. I didn't even mention it that night. Instead, I did something worse. I waited. I studied her again, how she moved, what she searched on her phone, whether her tone changed when the subject of travel came up. It didn't. It never did. But something in her changed, because the next day she was the one watching me. It wasn't obvious at first, just glances, too many questions about my schedule. She asked what time I planned to get home, twice, and then asked again an hour later as if we'd never talked. She asked what I wanted for dinner before noon, and then didn't make anything. When I asked about it, she just said, "Oh, I thought you were going to cook tonight." She'd never say that. Cooking was her therapy. Something was shifting. So that night, I broke. I asked her, "What happened in New York?" She looked up from her phone so slowly it felt choreographed. There was no flash of confusion, no panic, no stammered denial. Just a slow smile. "What do you mean?" "I got a note, in the mail. It said to ask you about New York." She stood up, walked to the sink, and ran the water for a few seconds. Too long. Like she needed the sound of rushing water to mask something else. Her thoughts, maybe. When she turned around, she said, "You've never been to New York, have you, Simon?" I nodded. Number. "And neither have you, right?" She tilted her head. "Are you sure?" That question hit harder than any scream would have, because in that moment, I didn't know. I couldn't remember. I scanned my own memories like a broken file directory. Had she? Had we? Was there a story about Central Park, or the Met, or that pizza place her friends talked about? Nothing. Eliza walked right past me, patted my shoulder, and said, "Don't worry, you'll remember." She went to bed without saying another word. I didn't sleep. I pulled out my phone, searched every trace of her travel history I could think of. Old emails, Google Maps history, calendar events. Nothing. No trips, no bookings, no photos, no posts. But then I found something. On my own Google Drive, a photo. It was in a folder labeled Warranties and Receipts, the kind of folder you never check unless the dishwasher breaks. Inside was a single image, grainy, low-res, time-stamped from 4 years ago. A man, me, standing on a street corner in Manhattan. You can barely make out the street sign, but it's there. 82nd and Lexington. I have never seen that photo in my life, and I am not smiling in it. In fact, I look scared. I looked directly into the lens like I didn't expect to be photographed, like I was being watched. I don't remember being in New York, but someone does. Part 7 is when I try to get answers from someone who's supposed to be dead. Because the only person who could have taken that photo is my brother, and he died 3 years ago. I didn't cry when my brother died. I didn't have time. The whole thing was sudden, clinical, wrapped in too much paperwork and not enough closure. Brain aneurysm at work, in the middle of helping a client with printer issues, which, ironically, is exactly how my story started. He dropped dead mid-sentence. No warning, no goodbye. They said it was instant. That's supposed to make it better, right? We hadn't talked much in the months before it happened. There wasn't a falling out exactly, just the slow drift of adulthood. Work, distance, a few ignored texts that piled up into silence. I thought I'd get around to reconnecting. We always assume there's time, but now I wasn't just missing him. I was seeing him, and not in the comforting "he lives in my memories" way. I was seeing digital footprints that shouldn't be there, traces that pointed to a version of reality I never lived through, or worse, that I did and can't remember. After finding that photo of me in New York, the one I don't remember being taken, I started searching through everything with his name on it. Old hard drives, shared folders, even my cloud backups. It took hours, and most of it was what you'd expect. PDFs, game mods, tech docs, nothing that explained the picture. Until I opened a directory labeled Echo Box. I don't remember creating it. Inside were exactly 7 files. 6 text documents, 1 video, all of them titled with dates. None of the dates meant anything to me. No anniversaries, no birthdays. Just random moments, years apart. The most recent was from exactly 18 months before he died. I opened the text files first. They were short, disjointed, notes that read like fragments from someone losing their grip on time. She asked about the box again. I told her we burned it. Simon doesn't remember the hotel. Good. It's working. Don't let him near 82nd again. If the loop fractures, it'll trigger the recall. No New York, no blue coat, no music. She lied to both of us. If he sees the original footage, tell him it was a glitch. I sat there for 10 minutes, staring at the screen, trying to understand what kind of paranoid sci-fi spiral my brother had fallen into. Except, he wasn't like that. He wasn't me. He was grounded, stable. He didn't write in riddles, so then I opened the video. It was him, sitting at a desk. Our old apartment, maybe 10 years ago. His beard was shorter, his eyes looked tired. He stared into the camera with the kind of intensity you can't fake. Then he spoke. Simon, if you're watching this, it means something didn't hold. Either you pushed too far, or she slipped. Either way, you need to listen carefully. None of this is about cheating. It was never about Jules or R or the hallway. That was just scaffolding. The real structure is underneath. He paused, rubbed his face like he didn't want to keep going. You remember New York because you were never supposed to forget it. They tried to erase it, but there's bleed. That picture you found, I took it. You were looking for me, and I followed you to the intersection to stop you from seeing. He cuts off. Number doesn't matter now. If the box is still in the house, burn it. If she finds this message first, you're done. And whatever happens, don't let her near your head again. Then the screen went black. I replayed it 5 times. Checked the file details, created by him, dated a full year before he died. But here's the part I still don't understand. The metadata says it was last accessed 2 days ago, right after I found the photo. But I didn't open it then, which means someone else did. I stormed into the kitchen where Eliza was making tea like nothing had happened, and I asked her one question. Did you ever meet my brother before he died? She didn't blink, didn't pretend to be confused. She just smiled and said, You've asked me that before. What do you mean before? Exactly what I said. You asked me, twice. The first time you were crying. The second time, you were angry. I told you the same thing I'll tell you now. I've never met him, not officially. Not officially? I asked. She sipped her tea. He came to the house once, before the reboot. I swear to God my vision went dark for a second. The what? But she didn't answer. She just walked out of the kitchen, humming a song I hadn't heard in years, until I remembered. It was the same melody from the street performer in New York, the one I stood watching for 30 minutes while my brother begged me to turn around. But I didn't. I kept listening, and now the melody is in my house. Part 8 is where I finally opened the box. The one I don't remember hiding, the one I swore didn't exist, and what's inside is going to change everything, for me and for her, and maybe even for you. It was in the attic. That's the most painful part. Not some vault, not a bank deposit, not even a locked drawer. Just sitting there, behind a broken lamp and a half-full bin of Christmas lights we haven't used since the 2nd year of our marriage. I knew it was there. I'd seen it before. A plain gray fireproof box with no markings. But I'd told myself it was full of tax forms or old college papers. Not worth opening. Too boring to investigate. But my brother knew. He told me, again and again, through whispers I had labeled paranoia and fragments I had filed under grief. He knew this moment would come. The moment I stopped running and opened the damn thing. The box was cold, heavier than it looked. Inside, one photograph, one flash drive, and one handwritten letter. The photograph was simple. Me, Eliza, and my brother, sitting on a bench in Central Park. We all looked younger, laughing, my hand on her knee, his arm around my shoulder. None of us were posing. Someone else must have taken it. A stranger. The angle was wide and spontaneous. Real. I stared at it for a long time, because here's the thing. I remembered that day. Not vaguely, not in pieces. I remembered it all. The music from the saxophonist. The vendor who gave me an extra pretzel for free. The way Eliza and my brother argued over a crossword clue, and then high-fived when they both turned out to be wrong. I remembered it. Which meant it wasn't a lie, which meant none of it was. I put the photo down and picked up the flash drive. It had one file on it, a video journal, dozens of entries all labeled with dates. Most of them were just me, sitting in front of the same desk, talking into a camera with puffy eyes and a voice I barely recognized. But the final entry, that one was different. In it, I said, "This is the last one. If I ever find this again, it means I've broken through. The memories are bleeding back in, and that means the treatment is wearing off, which is good, which means I'm ready. Eliza, if you're still watching this with me, I forgive you. And Simon, if you're alone, confused, terrified, and digging through these old files like they're treasure maps, you made it. You survived. And that's all I ever wanted for you. There was never a grand conspiracy, just trauma and love and loss. The rest was static." Then I picked up the letter, my brother's handwriting. "Simon, you chose this. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. What happened in New York, it broke you. You lost someone, not Eliza, not me. Someone you won't even remember until it's time. The treatment let you rebuild without the pain. Eliza agreed to keep the secret. That's how much she loved you. If you're reading this, it means the pain has come back. But so is the truth. You are not broken. You are waking up. Owen." I sat there for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just breathed, because it all made sense now. Eliza hadn't betrayed me. She'd protected me from a past I wasn't ready to face, from a loss so deep we had agreed to erase it together. Jules, R, the messages, they were fragments, echoes. The mind trying to stitch over scars that were meant to be left untouched. I remembered the accident. Her name was June, our daughter, 3 years old. She was with me when it happened, and I couldn't live with that, so we chose to forget. But you can only run for so long. That night, I walked into the bedroom and told Eliza everything. Every thought, every suspicion, every hallucination, and every lie I'd convinced myself was truth. And she didn't interrupt me. She just took my hand, nodded slowly, and said, "It's okay. I've been waiting for you." We cried, together this time. We talked for hours, about Owen, about June, about how healing isn't linear, about how grief doesn't ask permission. We made coffee at 2 a.m. and watched the sun rise from the porch, our fingers interlocked like we were 24 again. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was chasing ghosts. I felt present, awake, alive. There's no twist here, no final gotcha. Just a truth I wish I had understood sooner. Sometimes the biggest betrayals aren't from others. They're the stories we tell ourselves to avoid pain. But pain is a compass, and eventually, if you let it, it leads you home.